Imagine waking up tomorrow and realizing that the world you thought you understood has been quietly hiding some of its darkest truths in plain sight. Not secret conspiracies, not fictional horrors, but real, documented realities that affect millions, sometimes billions of people every single day. Things that don't make headlines, don't trend on social media, and rarely spark outrage, even though they should. Today, we're not talking about rumors or fear bait. We're talking about verified facts, facts that governments acknowledge, scientists document, and historians record, yet most of us never stop to think about. Because if we did, we might start asking uncomfortable questions about how the world really works, who it serves, and what the future might look like if nothing changes. So take a breath, stay with me, and listen carefully, because once you hear these truths, you may never see the world the same way again. Let's start with something almost unbelievable, yet completely real. Right now, more than 700 million people around the world live in extreme poverty, surviving on less than $2 a day. This is not because the world lacks wealth or resources. In fact, global wealth has reached record highs, and food production alone is enough to feed every human being on Earth. The disturbing reality is that hunger and poverty are not caused by scarcity, but by distribution, political instability, and economic systems that prioritize profit over people. Every year, roughly 1/3 of all food produced globally is wasted, while millions die from malnutrition. This isn't an accident. It's a system functioning exactly as designed, where inefficiency and inequality are quietly accepted as normal. Even more unsettling is the reality of modern slavery. Many people believe slavery ended centuries ago, safely locked away in history books. But according to international organizations, more than 40 million people are currently trapped in modern forms of slavery today. This includes forced labor, debt bondage, human trafficking, and forced marriage. These individuals work in factories, farms, mines, fishing boats, and even private homes. Many of the products we use, daily clothing, electronics, food, are connected to exploitative labor somewhere along the supply chain. The world hasn't eliminated slavery. It has simply renamed it, outsourced it, and made it easier to ignore. Now let's talk about something we rarely confront: access to clean drinking water. In the 21st century, nearly 2 billion people still lack reliable access to safe water. This leads to diseases that are entirely preventable, including cholera and dysentery, killing hundreds of thousands every year, mostly children. Meanwhile, in wealthier nations, water is wasted on lawns, luxury consumption, and industrial misuse. In some regions, multinational corporations extract groundwater for bottled water sales, leaving local communities with depleted wells. Water, one of the most basic human necessities, is increasingly treated as a commodity rather than a human right. Another disturbing fact lies in how invisible certain deaths have become. Every year, air pollution contributes to an estimated 7 million premature deaths worldwide. That's more than wars, terrorism, and natural disasters combined. Yet, because these deaths happen gradually through asthma, heart disease, and lung conditions, they rarely spark global alarm. Entire cities breathe toxic air daily, and children grow up with permanently damaged lungs. This isn't a future threat, it's a present reality, silently shortening lives while being normalized as the cost of economic growth. Mental health is another crisis hiding in plain sight. Depression is now one of the leading causes of disability globally, affecting hundreds of millions of people. Suicide claims more lives each year than many armed conflicts, yet mental illness is still stigmatized, underfunded, and misunderstood. In many countries, people suffering from severe mental disorders are incarcerated instead of treated, or left without support entirely. The world speaks openly about productivity and success, but barely acknowledges the psychological toll demanded to maintain them. Then there's the disturbing truth about education. While access to schooling has improved globally, more than 250 million children still cannot read or write, even after years of attending school. Many are forced into labor instead of classrooms. Girls, in particular, are disproportionately affected, with millions denied education due to poverty, conflict, or cultural restrictions. Education is often celebrated as the great equalizer, yet it remains deeply unequal, perpetuating cycles of poverty that last generations. Let's turn to the environment, not in abstract terms, but in hard facts. Scientists confirm that wildlife populations have declined by more than 2/3 in just the last 50 years. Entire ecosystems are collapsing faster than expected, not because nature is weak, but because human activity has pushed it beyond recovery. Coral reefs, which support marine life, hundreds of millions of people, are dying at alarming rates due to warming oceans. Rainforests are still being destroyed at millions of hectares per year, despite decades of warnings. The planet isn't slowly changing, it's being rapidly altered in ways that may be irreversible. Now, consider this unsettling reality. Conflict zones are no longer the most dangerous places to be a child. For millions of children, the greatest threat comes from hunger, disease, and exploitation, not war. Child labor remains widespread, with over 160 million children working in hazardous conditions. Some handle toxic chemicals. Others operate heavy machinery. Many are exposed to violence daily. These children don't appear in dramatic headlines, yet their suffering fuels global industries quietly and efficiently. Another truth rarely discussed is how surveillance has become normalized. Today, more data is collected about individuals than at any point in human history. Governments and corporations track movements, habits, preferences, and conversations, often without explicit consent. This data is used not just for convenience, but for influence, behavioral prediction, and control. The erosion of privacy hasn't happened overnight. It has been gradual, marketed as safety and personalization, until constant monitoring feels normal rather than alarming. Healthcare inequality is another disturbing reality. In some countries, a treatable illness is a minor inconvenience. In others, it's a death sentence. Millions die annually from diseases that are easily preventable, treatable simply because they cannot afford care or live too far from medical facilities. Even in wealthy nations, access to healthcare often depends more on income than need. The idea that survival can depend on financial status is so deeply embedded in society that it's rarely questioned. Let's talk about prison. Globally, incarceration rates have soared, with millions imprisoned, many without trial, fair representation, or humane condition. Overcrowding, abuse, and neglect are common in prison systems worldwide. In some places, incarceration is used not for rehabilitation, but as a means of social control. Entire communities are disproportionately targeted, creating cycles where imprisonment becomes generational rather than corrective. Another disturbing truth lies in how disasters affect people differently. When natural disasters strike, they don't impact everyone equally. Poorer communities suffer more, recover slower, and receive less assistance. Climate-related disasters have increased dramatically, yet those who contribute least to climate change often bear the greatest consequences. Rising sea levels threaten island nations that produce almost no global emission, while wealthier nations debate timelines rather than solutions. The reality of misinformation is also deeply unsettling. False information spreads faster and farther than truth, shaping opinions, elections, and public health outcomes. During global crisis, misinformation has directly cost lives, undermining trust in science and institutions. The most disturbing part isn't that misinformation exists, it's that systems designed to inform the public often profit from its spread. Even technology, often seen as humanity's savior, carries darker truths. Electronic waste is one of the fastest growing waste streams in the world. Toxic components from discarded devices contaminate soil and water, often in developing countries where waste is shipped for recycling. The very tools that connect us globally also leave behind environmental and human damage that remains largely unseen. Perhaps the most disturbing fact of all is how quickly we adapt to injustice. What once shocked us becomes background noise. Statistics replace faces. Headlines replace empathy. The world doesn't ignore suffering. Because it doesn't exist, it ignores it. Because it has learned to live alongside it. And that normalization may be the most dangerous thing of all. But but awareness matters. History shows that change begins when people refuse to look away, when uncomfortable truths are acknowledged instead of buried, when ordinary individuals demand better systems, better accountability, and better futures not just for themselves, but for others they may never meet. If this video made you pause, question, or see the world a little differently, then its purpose was fulfilled. These are not stories meant to depress you. They are truths meant to awaken you, because the first step toward change is understanding what's really happening around us. If you value content that goes deeper than surface-level headlines, take a moment to like this video. Subscribe to the channel if you want more thought-provoking stories that challenge assumptions and explore the realities shaping our world. And stay connected, because the conversations that truly matter are the ones we're told not to have.